Hey everybody, meteorologist Kelly Foster here. We are tracking Hurricane Sally, a Category 2 hurricane that is centered about 130 miles southeast of Biloxi, Mississippi. And it's right now basically kind of just sitting and spinning. It is barely moving at about 3 miles per hour. That's about how fast we walk. And this is going to be a prolific rainmaker. We're going to get pounded with a lot of rain. So I want you to keep that in mind. As you can see, some of the outer feeder bands from Sally are grazing the Alabama shoreline as well as the Florida Panhandle. They're going to be getting pummeled, and you can see even the Emerald Coast dealing with some feeder bands from Sally. It is a Category 2 hurricane right now. Max sustained winds at 100 miles per hour, gusting to 120, and look at the speed. 3 miles per hour. Right now, the trajectory is towards the west-northwest. In time, it is expected to take a slight jog to the north and then bend back towards the north and east, and we will have impacts from that. As it continues to slowly advance in, that water is going to be pushing in. And so, although at this point, it's still uncertain where landfall is going to be, water is going to be rising. Here's a look right now. A Category 2 hurricane is 96 to 110 miles per hour. There were some thoughts earlier today that it may even briefly reach Category 3 status, which is a major hurricane. Now, in terms of our tropical threats, tonight all the way through Wednesday, on the high end is going to be flooding. So please keep that in mind. If you live in a flood-prone area, be thinking about where you'll go to higher ground. And I hope that if you already live in an area that typically floods and you're south of I-10, that you're already there. It's going to be on the high end as well, medium to high in terms of high wind and storm surge. And right now the tornadic threat looks to be low to medium. We're also under a flash flood watch for our entire viewing area. This is all the way until Wednesday because Sally's going to be such a slow mover as it inches its way towards the Gulf Coast. We're going to get waves and waves of tropical rain, and also we're talking river flood warning. We already have some flood warnings in play because as that water is shoved in from the wind, it is going to cause some overflow. Plus, we're going to have a lot of rain that's going to be coming down from the sky from this tropical cyclone, and the water's not going to have anywhere to go. Let's talk about rain accumulation, and this is going to be significant. This is going to be one of the biggest hazards in terms of Sally. We're talking 12 to 18 inches of rain possible for Mobile, Baldwin County, primarily south of I-10, 10 to 15 inches for the northern part of Mobile and Baldwin. That also includes parts of the Panhandle. And if it continues to slow down because the steering winds just aren't there right now, we could see even 2 feet of rain. So please keep that in mind, that this is going to be a big time rainmaker. As we talk about tropical alerts, we have a hurricane warning from Navarre, Florida, all the way to Grand Isle, Louisiana. And you can see we have a tropical storm watch for Conecuh County, Escambia, Monroe, and a tropical storm warning for Washington, Clark, and back into Greene County, Mississippi. Here's a look at the cone with Sally. This is the 10 o'clock advisory, and there's still been that slight shift to the east, and that's where the worst of the storm action is. That's where we're seeing the heaviest rain. Lightning's been flaring up, and that has been an indication of strengthening. So right now, we're looking at max sustained winds at 100 miles per hour. The hurricane hunters from Biloxi, Mississippi have been flying in, doing passes, and dropping in those weather instruments to get data and information to send back to the National Hurricane Center, and they're going to continue to do that. Right now, the cone is showing tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. It could strengthen up to 110 miles per hour, 105 by tomorrow night. Notice even southeast Mississippi, Louisiana is going to see that water rise, and then right now it looks like a possible landfall as we head on into early Wednesday morning near the Mississippi-Alabama line, possibly even the west end of Dauphin Island or just west of Bayou Battery. That's the center of the cone. However, we could see the center all the way over here towards the Pensacola area or all the way back towards Bay St. Louis, but it's typically closer to the center where we see landfall when we see these updates with the cone. But the impacts, of course, are going to be outside the cone. So keep that in mind. And then as we head on into Wednesday, 7 o'clock, we're going to be looking at this possibly up towards the Atmore area. So Sally is just going to take its sweet time. It's going to be a big time rainmaker for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and really our slice of the Gulf Coast, Mobile and Baldwin County, going to be very vulnerable. Another big threat and impact is going to be storm surge. The hurricane winds are going to be shoving the water in, and then it's not going to have anywhere to go. So it's going to just pile up, and then we're going to have that rain coming down from the sky as well. We're talking again, possibly 1 foot to 2 foot of rain. So again, the storm surge is going to be a big problem when we talk about storm surge. For Mobile Bay, we're talking 4 to 7 feet possible, 6 to 9 feet in Jackson County, Mississippi, 2 to 4 feet. And we could even be looking at waves up to 20 feet. And we know what happens when those waves batter buildings and homes, they collapse. So again, the storm surge is definitely going to be an impact. And we could also be looking at some tropical tornadoes associated with Hurricane Sally. Due to those feeder bands, as they spiral in, the winds will begin to change and turn with height, and we could see those quick rotating storms that a lot of times the tropical systems start out as water spouts. So be thinking about tonight. We hope that you have everything in play in terms of hurricane force winds, storm surge, because Sally is going to be here to stay all the way through the middle of the week, possibly into Thursday as well, because as I talked about, the steering winds just aren't there. So we want you ready. Be thinking about where that safe spot's going to be in your home that the whole family can go to until the tornado warning has passed, because right now we're talking about a 2 out of 5 risk of seeing some tropical tornadoes associated with Sally. So we're going to continue to watch. This is just one of the models, and this one's taking its path a little bit further to the west. But as you can see, we're talking a lot of heavy rain, and really not out of the picture until Wednesday evening. And then, of course, it will take a while for the waters to recede, and we're still going to be dealing with some saturated ground and some flooding issues associated with Sally. So that's the update on Hurricane Sally. Again, 130 miles southeast of Biloxi, Mississippi. This has been a rapidly intensifying storm, and we want you to stay with NBC 15. We're going to have another update on the latest on Hurricane Sally coming up at 1 a.m. So keep the channel right here. We'll go ahead and join local programming right now.